benvenuti ragazzi sul mio canale.
Oggi siamo
tornati con la serie per reagire a delle animazioni e video horror. Il lavoro del mio
I'm
amico.
16 years old, and I grew up in an orphanage since I was young. I've lived alone in this world, without a family, when one day I met a guy named Brian at church. He was very kind.
Con quella
He was in
faccia.
his early small house, and I got to live with him in his house. However, one day, I started to experience terrible things in that house. One day, he came back home, covered with dirt and sweat, and said, "Today I got one done in a while. Let's go eat something delicious." I thought he had come back after harsh labor, but
No ragazzi, lui è andato
ad uccidere la persona.
his large bag, it was full of bloody knives, all kinds of tools, and wads of cash.
Gliel'ha detto.
When I saw his face looking at me proudly, I got goosebumps. When I asked where he got so much money, he replied, "I risked my life to work. It's hard to make money."
Sì,
Then he took
l'ha
off his
decisamente
shirt, and
rubata.
there were bruises all over his body. I couldn't understand what he was doing. He didn't tell me the details. However, he took me to the department store the next day and bought me all kinds of luxury goods. We
Almeno
ate at a top-notch
almeno ti pigli il
restaurant.
lusso. Cioè guarda.
I was bewildered by everything, but secretly, I enjoyed it. Then one day, Brian called me and asked me to come and pick him up. So I drove to the address he gave me, and when I arrived, there was an abandoned building, and a man was tied up inside. Brian was cutting the man's finger there. And when I arrived, he said with an innocent expression, "Isaac, in life, sometimes there are people you absolutely have to kill. In that case, you must cut their fingers and head off. That way, they won't be identified." Then he started slicing the man's neck.
Davanti
with a
ai
saw.
suoi occhi.
I heard the
Registra.
man scream,
Chiama la
and suddenly
polizia.
My ears got clogged. My whole body trembled as I watched the whole scene, but I held on tight, trying not to be noticed by him. The guy who was so kind
non
to me
l'ho notato.
was a devil. I couldn't understand, and I realized that the money he had been spending on me was the money earned by doing this. I was in great shock. I wondered whether I should report it to the police, but I was afraid
Subito.
that without him, I would be left alone in this world again.
Ma cosa?
Then one day,
Magari
I was
uccidete
asleep
dopo.
at dawn, but I heard something hit the floor with a thud. I woke up and went to Brian's room. There were 3 men wearing sunglasses. They looked at
Men
me,
in black.
put their fingers to their mouths, and said, "Shh." And then I saw it. What fell to the floor was Brian's head. I couldn't even scream. I felt paralyzed by fear from head
quello
to
del suo
toe,
amico.
and I couldn't breathe. There was vinyl spread on the floor, and as they put Brian's body in a bag, they said, "Good boy, I won't kill you if you keep your mouth shut, but if you tell others what you saw today, your head will be blown off. We are experts in this kind of work, so it only takes 3 minutes to get done with one person. You know what I mean?" When I asked them why they killed Brian, they replied, "I received a request saying that if I got done with this guy, they would give me $100,000.
Ovviamente.
This job cannot last long anyway. He's been used and abandoned. They also took away the cash Brian had saved, so I was left alone in the world.
Dovevi riportarlo. Io lo sapevo.
Since then, I tried to live on my own, but it wasn't easy. And suddenly, I remembered what Brian had said to me. He always had said to me, "This world is a jungle. If you're not careful, you'll become someone's prey. I'd rather be a hunter." But in this world, I was like a very weak deer. I couldn't just sit there. So after reporting the people who killed Brian to the police, I ran off to another city.
Ma almeno,
Later on, the police
almeno hai
contacted me,
riportato loro.
and I was informed that the killers had been arrested. But even after that, I had to live in fear that someone might come and kill me. Fortunately, I've been doing well so far, but there still would be someone in this world murdering for money.
Eccolo.
È uno di quei 3 tizi.
Hotel.
My name is Kale, and this is based on my real-life experience. I work as a businessman in Morocco and got sent on a business trip to Nigeria on the 26th of January, 2022. I wasn't really interested in traveling
quella là.
again, but I had to, so I packed my bags and made my way to the airport. I landed safely in Nigeria and got escorted to a luxurious hotel room, where I was informed about how safe the hotel was and how I had nothing to worry about.
Certo.
Being uninterested in their banter, all that was on my mind was, get done with the business deal and leave.
Forza.
The next day, I woke up and made my way to the company to get done with the meeting and sign the contract. The whole day went slow as hell, but I was glad that it was finally over. Making my way to my room, which was on the ground floor, I swiped my card onto the lock and walked in, locking the door behind me. I decided to freshen up as I had already had my dinner before making my way back to the room. As soon as I was done, I packed my stuff for my departure the next day and headed straight to bed by 11 p.m. The clock struck 3 a.m. on the 28th of January. At that hour, I woke up and decided to use the restroom. When I was done, I made my way to the dispenser to get myself some water to drink.
Giusto.
As I was about to take a sip, my eyes made contact with the window. The curtains slightly pushed aside. I could see a girl in a gown, around the age of 6, standing next to the tree, not too far from my window.
Con quale faccia me lo dici?
I
Sembra una
sighed and
bambola.
looked at the time, which read 3:10 a.m.
L'ora del
I
diavolo.
shouted out to her saying, "Hey kid, it's dangerous to be out there alone. Return back to your room." I turned around unbothered, but the atmosphere didn't feel
Si è
right.
avvicinata.
I turned to look out the window again, but this time, it was no longer the girl, but a little boy, who stood there, staring right back at me. "What the?"
Vabbè.
I cursed as I shouted again, while gripping the window pane. "It's too late to be out
Torna
on
a dormire,
pranks,
torna a
kids.
dormire.
Get back to your rooms."
Vabbè.
In anger, I turned around to leave, but then I remembered I left the window open, and when I turned to
È
close
già
it,
entrato.
my eyes widened as I released a gasp. The hairs on my skin rose at what I saw.
Se anche il
This
cane ha la
time,
faccia da
it was
bambola.
a dog. It didn't feel normal to me. All it did was stand in the same spot
Sempre.
while staring right at my
Lui è
room.
peggio.
In fear, I slammed the window shut, locked it, and
Ma
ran
dillo a
back to my
qualcuno, cioè,
bed,
la
covering
polizia,
myself
cioè,
with
si
my
può-
blanket, shaking with fear. I tried controlling my breath, but I passed out from fear.
Wow.
I woke up at 8 a.m. in the morning and got dressed as my flight is to take
Scappa,
off
beh,
by
scappa via.
10:30 a.m. As I walked towards the door, I noticed something, which made me remember everything. It all turned out to be a dream. But one thing I couldn't get over was that the door was unlocked and slightly ajar. My heart raced in fear.
Scappa
I
via.
checked all my belongings and noticed that nothing was missing.
Vabbè, almeno
I
quello.
remember locking my door before heading to bed.
Sì, sì.
But what happened? The security checked all the CCTV cameras, but found nothing. At this point, I wasn't interested in staying at the hotel any longer. I thanked the
Via,
receptionist
via, via. Vai
and I
via.
left for my
Scappa
flight.
via.
I arrived in Morocco
Ah.
safely, and not a day passes that I do not think about what happened in Nigeria.
Tornato sicuro.
What exactly happened at the luxurious hotel in Abuja?
Ah, questo è in Nigeria?
Pensavo fosse di adesso.
Scam. Ragazzi, noi sappiamo quanta gente viene scammata.
At the age of 13, I wanted to become a successful supermodel like Kendall or Bella.
Non so chi sono.
That stood out the most to me, and I was extremely dedicated to achieving it. I talked to my parents about my future success plan. They supported me and had amazing feedback.
Almeno
I was
quel.
eager to become a model,
Di tutto
so
di
I
quello
did
che c'è
something
bisogno.
dumb and decided to apply myself to a modeling company. A week later, I received a call from a woman. I specifically remember what she said to me. "Hey, are you Sarah?" "My name is Saida." I correct her by saying, "It's Saida. Who is this?"
Già
She
sbagliato il
goes,
nome.
"I wanted to contact you about the email I sent you. We're here to schedule a photo shoot." In surprise, I responded, "Oh, really? Ma'am, thank you so much." The lady replied, "Yes, honey, believe it. I've helped girls become very successful. We are located in Manhattan. Where I live, New York is close but expensive." She claimed, "I'm sure your mom would understand that this is a wonderful opportunity." I was worried about how my parents would
Già che
react.
ti amo,
but
Sara.
excited. The next day, I brought it up to my dad, and he said, "Saida, who was this person? Did you reveal your personal information to a stranger? You can't do that. You're going to get hurt," he screamed at the top of his lungs. Later, apologized for
forse-
yelling and stating, "I just don't want you getting hurt." I had made a dumb decision. I was naive, impulsive, and impatient. That same month, I watched a video on this lady's website. It was about a young woman named Kara Nichols. She was 18 and had a passion for modeling, and later joined some random Craigslist modeling app. A supposed photographer sent her an email wanting to meet up. The photos taken of Kara are the only evidence she was seen alive. Her family is still grieving. This
Oh, sento una porta aprirsi.
2012. Later, I found out the modeling company I applied to wasn't legit and was a scam. I also clearly remember the woman replying with, "To this day, it still sends shivers down my spine. Well, we're not an agency. We just pick out girls we think are a fit for us. So we just want you." At first, I thought that was a little suspicious.
Con quale
Thank
faccia?
God my parents didn't let me go.
Li rapisco.
Mamma. Sento già che
Hello,
questa sarà-
my name is Juliana. I am currently 13 years old with dark brown hair and dark brown eyes.
Ma che ce ne frega a noi?
Admit, this isn't the scariest of stories, but it still confuses me to this day. This happened to me in mid-2017. For some context, my mom works in a job where she has to travel a lot. So, a few days before this happened, she said she had a trip and she would be gone for a few days.
Rimane da sola
I
a
was
casa?
pretty
No,
sad,
no, 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 no,
But
no.
I knew it was just a business trip, and she would be back soon. A few days passed, and my sisters, dad, and I were just having fun.
C'è
Going out,
ok, allora pensavo.
watching movies, eating snacks, the usual.
Finally.
Finally, the day arrived that my mom would finally be back. I was having some
Finalmente.
trouble sleeping for a few weeks, so I was lying in my bed.
Ragazzi, non so se vi rendete conto, ma non sembra che tipo il suo corpo è sotto il cuscino e c'è tipo una foto sopra il cuscino. Cioè, non so se mi avete capito.
Then, I heard the door open
È tornato.
and heard footsteps. But this is when it got weird. It sounded like men's footsteps. And then it
Così,
just
così, l'hai
stopped.
capito perché l'istinto.
I was very confused, but played it off as our neighbors. I lived in a townhouse, so it made sense in my 9-year-old head. Finally, at around 2 a.m., I heard a woman's footsteps and
Come fa a
saw a
capirlo?
woman on the top of the stairs. She was wearing a pencil skirt, and it looked identical to my mom.
Sì,
My mom's favorite type of skirt is a pencil skirt. So, naturally, I thought that woman was her. I wanted to go up to her
Questa
and hug
musichetta,
her,
ma cos'è?
but I had a feeling that she was exhausted. So I let her walk into the bedroom. However, about an hour later, I heard the door downstairs open. And I went downstairs and turned on the light. There was my mom. She asked me what I was doing up.
C'era una...
And I lied to her, saying that I was waiting for her. I still think about this from time to time. Inside,
Non
I
gliel'ha
was
detto?
panicking. Who or what was that lady? And why did she look like my mom? Did I miss her so
Doppelganger.
much that I started hallucinating? I'm so grateful that I decided to stay in my bed and not go up to her. I still wonder what I would have seen if I had gone up to.
Lasciamo stare, va. Ristorante barbecue.
There was a famous restaurant in our neighborhood.
Tra l'altro,
There was a famous
cioè,
restaurant
ragazzi, si
in our
chiama
neighborhood.
Wansee
It
BBQ.
was a restaurant that had amazingly delicious back ribs,
Certo,
and
Wansee
the taste
BBQ.
was unrivaled. I was addicted to the taste and visited the restaurant every single day. Then one day,
vabbè.
the owner of the restaurant said to me, "Our precious regular customer has arrived. Then we should offer some precious meat. A premium quality meat, which is
Offre la
really
casa.
hard to obtain, came in today. It's so delicious that nothing compares to it." The owner patted my back while talking. I was a bit offended, but I just didn't make a great deal of
Cosa mi
it
tocchi?
because
Cosa mi
I
tocchi,
thought I
eh?
became close to him. I said I wanted to try it, so he led me inside, and there was another restaurant inside.
Lavatrice. Ah,
There
no,
were several people who looked like VIPs sitting at the table. After a while, the food came out, and it was a small amount of about 4 pieces of back ribs. Then people immediately picked it up without saying anything and ate like crazy. They
Così non
even
mangia
licked the
niente?
bones like a dog that had been starved for several days. And they had a conversation I couldn't understand.
There's a kid I want to eat these days, but how can I catch him? If I catch him, will you cook him at a low price?
Un branco di
We
cannibali.
could, but we'd have to hire a professional hunter to keep him out of trouble.
Then one of them looked at me and said,
Would you like to donate some bones?
I was bewildered and
Ma vai
said,
via.
What?
They suddenly took off their shirts and showed their backs. They were dense in their flesh, as if several back ribs were missing. I screamed in surprise, and they chuckled as they said,
Since you ate one today, you should donate one. Isn't this a world where we help
Subito,
one
subito.
another? Ha 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 ha.
Chiamo la
They
polizia.
were staring at me with creepy eyes, which gave me a
No,
bizarre
no,
vibe.
io me ne vado
I
via.
was seized
Quella è
with
la
fear
porta, io me ne
and
vado.
left in a hurry, just saying that
Bravo,
I've
Steve,
enjoyed my
bravo.
meal. The owner of the restaurant continued to suggest that I sign up for the VIP membership, but I refused. I didn't go to that restaurant for several days, but one day, the taste of the back ribs occurred to me, and I couldn't stand it,
Ma non
so I
sono,
had
ci
to
sono
go.
il branco di
I was
cannibali.
eating at the restaurant but I felt something strange, so I turned around, and behind my back, the restaurant owner was holding a knife to my back. When I asked with fright what he was doing, he said with drowsy eyes,
Give me just one.
I left the restaurant with goosebumps, and I didn't go to the
Capite
restaurant
perché prima
since
gli aveva
then.
toccato la
Then
schiena,
one
gli aveva
day,
fatto
I saw that the
pa, pa,
restaurant was
perché
closed
volevo-
when I was passing
Oh.
by. So I asked the owner of the store
Finalmente
next
almeno è
door if
chiuso.
something had happened, and he said,
Someone brought a knife to the store a while ago and created a disturbance, and 3 diners were rushed to the emergency room. But what was creepy was that everyone was stabbed like crazy, only in the back.
the culprit was arrested, but reportedly shouted till the end that he had asked everyone for their consent to stab them.
Era uno di quello dei VIP? Brama, è lui? Ok, io direi che per adesso potremmo finire. Ci vediamo il prossimo giorno. Ciao.